wide or start wide and then get out of control where he destroys his power base. Once you've made a mistake with the stride, we can't get back to you. So it's the first and most common fault in hitting with young athletes, and it's the first thing we must solve, and we may be able to do that with the stride board, the volleyball or the ball between the knees, and the lead stride foot heavy weight, overloaded. Now let's move back a step and get us back into sequence. Let's define hitting as sequential unlocking of body parts to maximize bat speed at the point of contact. The first part of that sequence meaning in order, body parts in order, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first part being the stride. That's gear number 1. And liken that to a 4-speed transmission, stick shift of our transported Toyotas. First gear is the lowest gear, and all it does is to the cars do what? It gets it started. It gets it started under control. And we want to move to that position as an athlete. We want those knees to stay in relatively close together. And now this is a power base. The stride also does something else for us. It loads us. We can feel as we take a stride, as we pick a foot up, the weight has to be transferred back and carried. Again, the maximum strength in the body is from mid-thigh up to belly button, including the hips and low back. That's where strength comes from in delivering a lick in football as a linebacker. It's where strength comes from as I carry myself continually in the position as a defensive player in basketball. It's where strength comes from and reaction comes from, and it's called the basic athletic position. In basketball, we often have called it the triple threat position. From here, I can shoot, pass, or put the ball on the floor in a dribble and react. It's the maximum athletic position. That is our power base. It also loads us, and we like to think at that time that the idea and concept of Aikido, the gathering and centralizing of energy at the center of the body, the belly button's approximate to the center, maybe an inch or two below. That's dead center for us. That's the center of our balance area, and we're still in control at that particular point. Now, if we have taken a stride and we have gotten to a point of perfect balance, and we're aware that we're centralizing all of our energy in this lower part of the body, how are we going to move that? What's going to be the next gear? What's the trigger mechanism that will allow the power base to react? It's a back knee. This, being the lever closest to the power load or the power base, is the only thing that has quickness and speed. And if, like that 4-speed Toyota transmission, as we move from first gear to second gear, there is an increase in speed and gear ratio. That's exactly what the back knee does for us, is that it triggers. It triggers the power base. Once established, it is the trigger mechanism, this little braking. Now, gentlemen, don't misunderstand that it's a ballistic explosion. It is not. It is not a action. It is even smaller. Sometimes you might think of the back knee trigger just as you would the size of the trigger on a Colt 45. The trigger is actually a lot smaller than the bullet in the barrel and the handle and the whole gun included. All the trigger does is allow the gun to function. And that's what the back knee does for us here. It merely allows the power base to function. We have taken a stride. The back knee then is a trigger mechanism to take this mass gathered at the Aikido and move it into a position to hit. We get confused when we begin talking about weight transfer. A lot of times people think that, Coach, you're telling me, hey, get that back knee, drive that back knee in there. And we try to overemphasize. Many of young people that we coach and teach want to do what we ask them to do to the point where they overemphasize it. and they'll have a tendency to go out here and just drive themselves and take the back knee and throw all of their weight forward and push themselves off of a balance. It is smaller and subtler, like the trigger on the gun. Bang. All we're doing is trigger. Just the breaking of this back knee, and it's beginning to move, is the trigger. It allows this part of our body to begin to open. We use the belly button as a gauge. They used to put governors on cars. Some of you guys probably need that now, don't you? Pop would put that governor on your car, and it could only get so much gas, it could only run 40 miles an hour. You'd probably feel better about your safety. So we're thinking about governor are reducing down somewhat the explosion in this back knee. We don't want it to overreact. The belly button serves as kind of a governor. When you end up, after you've triggered the back knee, gear number 2 in your transmission, stride, load, back knee trigger, the belly button will take a picture of the pitch. All right, and this is far different, where baseball differs a great deal from golf, because the ball can be inside or outside as much as 17 inches difference. And so if the ball is inside and we move to the ball, stride, load, trigger, and we make a decision at that time that the ball is going to be inside, then we must accelerate the belly button and the hands to get to the inside pitch. If the ball's away at that point, the belly button will take a picture of the pitch here. If it's inside, it'll take a picture of the pitch here. But so often when you're watching yourself work with your dry swing drills, find out where your belly button is in relationship to the ball when it passes the plate. So many hitters sometimes don't get the belly button, don't get the second gear going, and as a result, they're taking a picture of the second baseman with their belly button when they're swinging the bat. Some hitters over-rotate the lower body, and they're taking a picture of the shortstop as the bat crosses the plate. We want to take a picture of the pitch with the belly button, just as if there was a tiny secret camera here, and it's going to take a picture of the pitch. And so with the back knee serving as a trigger mechanism, gear number 2 and the belly button serving as a governor as to how far the hips open, we have a pretty good idea, hopefully mentally right now in your minds, as to what it means to trigger the power base, gear number 2. Now, after we've triggered the power base and we've gotten to this particular point, let's think about what the feeling is like, because that's what we're talking about. How do we feel what the body's doing? Each of you guys are going to be a little thicker or a little thinner. The mass of the rear end is going to differ. Your flexibility is going to differ, correct? And as a result, some may be real slow in this area, and some may be skinny and a little quicker. This is just the natural, innate differences that we all have. That's the reason that belly button is real, real important, and that you find that belly button and have it trigger. If you work on drills where the ball's passing the plate and you're merely taking pitches, we're trying to get to this position every time. This is power base. Establish it, trigger, take a picture. Please understand, it's a very, very important point that we get here on every pitch and we go to this position every pitch before we make a decision to swing. All of this is preliminary movement that we make every pitch. A preparedness to hit occurs with power base establishment and back knee trigger. Those two things go hand in hand, and we must feel like that we arrive ready to hit every time. Now, we defined hitting earlier as sequential unlocking of body parts to maximize bat speed at the point of contact. You can also define hitting as a series of body arcs, each containing centrifugal force